Okay, here's video number 2 on corporations. Let's say that once we get our articles of incorporation done and you really are incorporated, then you're going to have the first organizational meeting of your board of directors to do things like adopt your bylaws and decide what bank you're going to do banking with and so on. One thing you don't want to do, since shareholders of corporations have limited liability, you never want to be a shareholder and lose that limited liability. There are 4 specific things you can do that are very silly to do where you can lose your limited liability. The first is to not follow corporate formalities. Let's say you're a lawn care business, you're doing so well and making so much money, you decide, I really don't need to have our board meetings anymore, and I don't need to have annual shareholder meetings as are required by law or file these annual reports with the Secretary of State. So we'll just forget all that. Well, when you do that, if you get sued as a corporation, uh, then the judge is going to say, oh, you weren't acting like a corporation and filling in your reports. I'm not going to treat you like a corporation. And the folks suing you can go to your personal assets. Another thing that you can do that would not be wise would be to inadequately capitalize or fund your corporation. If you form a corporation as a steel smelting company, well, capitalizing it with $1,000 would be grossly undercapitalizing it, and the courts are going to do the same thing, allow your personal assets to be seized. If you set up a corporation or a string of corporations with the sole purpose to defraud people, in that case, the courts are going to allow folks who'd like to sue the corporation to go to your personal assets. And the fourth thing that you shouldn't do is you shouldn't combine your personal accounts with your corporate accounts. If your rent is due at home and you pay for it with a corporate check, that would be foolish. Or if your accountant's bill comes in at work for your corporation and you pay for your accountant's bill with your personal check, that would be foolish. If you start not acting like a corporation, again, the court is going to allow folks suing your corporation to go to your personal assets. We mentioned about shareholders and boards and officers. Uh, I was around at the very end in the very early 1990s, around when sometimes uh, directors were chosen because they played golf with the club with the CEO. Doesn't happen anymore. Directors in public companies, after the Enron scandal and after various laws and after a culture change in corporations, directors are chosen at public companies on their qualifications. And wow, what a switch it was to see that switch take place. Directors and officers owe a duty of care and a duty of loyalty to the corporation. A duty of care, uh, under that duty, directors and officers owe a duty to act in good faith and make informed decisions. Under a duty of loyalty, a director or officer cannot put his or her own personal benefits ahead of that of the corporation. So if you get a big bonus if the operations and maintenance expense is low this year, and yet you realize for the good of the corporation you need to fix these 2 factories, and you lose your bonus, that's what you have to do under the duty of loyalty. If you believe as a shareholder that someone is uh, cheating and stealing from your corporation, of course you would want the directors and officers to take care of that. But what if you think the directors and officers are cheating and stealing from your corporation? In that case, you can file a derivative suit in which you, as a shareholder, represent the corporation in suing its own officers and directors. Okay, that's it for this video.